a tier list of every Fromsoft game from Demon Souls on. I'm gonna start with the best Fromsoft game. Okay, so Sekiro is an S tier, and I want to put it up here first. I'll talk about it later, but I'll put it up here first so I can like compare the other games to it. Well, not really compare because the other games are like too different from it, but kind of like this is like the level of quality. This is like the Sekiro is the standard for S tier basically. So with that in mind, I think it's also important to say how I'll be ranking these games because everyone enjoys these games for a different reason. I like Fromsoft games for the bosses. I'd say the bosses are like maybe even like 40% of the enjoyment for me. It's a huge reason why Sekiro is an S tier. But I'll talk about Sekiro when I get to it. I like exploring the world. So there's two things when I say that sentence. There's the exploration aspect and the world aspect. So if a FromSoft game has a world that's fun to explore, huge points. Combat depth, that kind of stuff. I don't think combat always has to be like super in-depth, but in the case that it is bonus points. Lore also counts for like, I'd say like maybe 10%. I'm not huge into lore, but you can't just write bullshit lore, and the lore needs to be good. It's not gonna make or break the game, but bonus points. What else? Characters, maybe like weapon variety, but I'll talk about it as I go on with each game. So I'm gonna start in chronological order. So Demon Souls. Oh. Remember that this. Okay, so D tier. I'll explain why Demon Souls is in D tier in a second, but I should say I'm going by like the US letter grade system where like S tier, okay, not S tier. A is like a 90, B is an 80, C is a 70, D is like a 60. You're failing. And in that sense, I don't want to put Demon Souls is not failing. It is a good game. It's just that I've never been able to really appreciate it. I completed it a couple times back when I was on PS3, and because it's a PS3 exclusive, I can't play it now that my tastes have fully developed. I can't play it now to really understand how much I truly enjoy the game. So the only thing I can go by is what, like, the game released in like what, 2009? I was like 13 when I played Demon Souls. Like, my tastes weren't developed. I was just playing it because it was like Dark Souls 1. So I'm gonna leave it in D. It's maybe not fair, but putting Demon Souls in D is more like it should be taken as I don't know what to think of the game because I need to replay it, but I have no way of replaying it because I don't have my PS3 anymore. I'm on PC. From what I remember, I enjoyed it, but there were also moments that I really didn't like that I was just like, I never want to play through this game ever again. So there's that, but I really don't have a clear image in my head, so it's hard to say. So it's in D for now. Next game, Dark Souls 1. If this was a video game tier list, Dark Souls 1 would be right here. Dark Souls 1 is fucking amazing. But since Sekiro is the one setting the standard for S tier, Dark Souls 1 is an A tier. Dark Souls 1 has arguably the best first half of FromSoft games. The bosses aren't anything special, but most of them aren't offensively bad. So like the Belfry Gargoyles, great boss fight. I'd say it's a gank boss that FromSoft did really well with. But my absolute favorite thing about Dark Souls is I can play that game. For some reason, the replay value of Dark Souls 1 for me is much higher than the other games, besides maybe Sekiro and Dark Souls 3, maybe. And it's because I enjoy exploring or just walking through the world of Lordran again. I think Dark Souls 1 has the best lore out of all the games. And yeah, it's just a really fun game to explore. I like walking around, like especially Undead Burg and Undead Parish. So fun to fucking just like walk through those areas again. I'd say Dark Souls 1, you don't really play it for the challenge. It's just Dark Souls 1, the world feels so real in a way. It feels believable. And when you walk through it, it's very easy to just be like, wow, this is like an actual world. So that's why I love Dark Souls 1. It was also the first game I played, which now that I say that, it makes me sound really biased, but it really is. I think besides just me having like nostalgia glasses on its own, it really is a good game. It's not even just a good game. It's a fucking amazing game that I think anyone should play. The people coming in from Elden Ring, they really gotta play Dark Souls 1 and see what's up. Like, the pacing of the combat is different. I should talk about that too. But the pacing of the combat is different. I think anyone that enjoyed Elden Ring should give Dark Souls 1 a chance. And yeah, I was gonna talk about the combat pacing. From Bloodborne on, FromSoft games have been extremely fast paced. I miss Dark Souls 1. The way the combat was like slow. There's a lot of commitment when you attack your enemy, and overall the enemies felt a lot more intimidating. My favorite example of this would probably be the Baronique Knight in the Undead Parish guarding the Firekeeper's soul. When you get him down, it's not a tough fight. He doesn't have much HP, and his attacks are relatively easy to dodge, but he looks intimidating as fuck. In my first time playing, he was intimidating because I sucked at the game. I was awful. Like, I was getting stomped by him. So yeah, Dark Souls 1, I love it. I think Fromsoft will never be able to make a world as cohesive as Dark Souls 1. I don't want to say that like I don't want another Dark Souls 1 level of like world building, but I think it's just Dark Souls 1 is just something, it's too good to like remake at that. Yeah, Dark Souls 1, A tier. High A tier, I should say. Dark Souls 2, C tier. I think Dark Souls 2 is really slept on. I understand that there's this like bandwagon culture of like just hating on Dark Souls 2. Everyone just says, people just say, oh, skip Dark Souls 2, just play Dark Souls 3. I think Dark Souls 2 has not a lot of things going for it, but at least some things going for it. You know, some bosses are offensively bad, like gang fights especially, but a lot of the bosses land in like the and I'd rather have an boss over a boss that tries to be like, you know, like Godskin Duo. I'd rather have a like shit fucking easy boss than Godskin Duo again. I'm gonna be honest. So Dark Souls 2, it's the least offensive. Well, I can't even say that because it is pretty offensive in some ways. I don't know, there's just something about it. It's so like bland. You know, it's a 70. It's a 70 out of 100. What can I say? It's just good. I mean, it has some of my favorite armor customization, not really customization, but armor sets in the game, in the series. I will say the world, it's not as good as Dark Souls 1 or Sekiro or even Bloodborne, but it's pretty dang good for what it is. The atmosphere, I think people sleep on Dark Souls 2's atmosphere. There's actually a really good video made on it by, I forgot his name. I think it's like Melon Tapes or something like that. He talks about the atmosphere of Dark Souls 2 and how the best way to describe it is lonely. And I agree. I think Dark Souls 2 is the best at making you feel lonely. Obviously, besides when you're getting like swarmed by enemies. But when you're just exploring, it's like the only thing you hear is just like ambient noises. For some reason, Dark Souls 2 does it really well. I don't know why, but Dark Souls 2 it captures the feeling of loneliness better than all the other games. Yeah, Dark Souls C tier, Dark Souls 2 C tier. It's a huge portion of my enjoyment from these games comes from the boss fights. Dark Souls 2 does have some bangers like the DLC bosses, specifically Sir Alan, Fume Knight, and Sin, the Slumbering Dragon, and does pretty well with some gank bosses too, surprisingly, like Shadow Lurker or Dark Lurker, and Elena, who, with Elena specifically, it depends on who she summons, but if she summons the skeletons, it's a great gank boss, it's not too bad. Yeah, Dark Souls 2 does some things right, does a lot of things wrong, still worth playing, in my opinion. Alright, next up, Bloodborne. A lot of people love Bloodborne, so this might be kind of surprising, but I think it's a B tier game. B for Bloodborne. I should say, I said Dark Souls 1 had the best first half of all the games. I actually think Bloodborne might actually have the best first half because Yharnam is fucking genius. The atmosphere, the gritty feeling of Yharnam is just so like, it's just so fucking like overwhelmingly gothic. It's dark. It feels like there's something lurking behind like every corner even when there's not. I think the right word for this might be oppressive. I'm not sure, but yeah. Like, when you walk out of the, what's that bitch's name? Yusefska's clinic for the first time, and you walk into Yharnam, and you see, like, the gothic buildings and shit, and you hear the cleric beast screaming in the back. It is such a good moment. It is one of my favorite moments in, like, Fromsoft games. It's so iconic. The sound design, I feel like every game after Bloodborne, they all use the same sound effects, but for some reason, in my head, Bloodborne, the sound effects are so satisfying to hear. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they just like mixed it better or something, but Bloodborne is just really good in that department. Weapons, everyone's praised the fucking trick weapons, but for a good reason. They're so fucking fun to use. Armor sets, I think Bloodborne is probably like the drippiest of all games, maybe. That's just off the top of my head. I might be like missing something, maybe like, I don't know. But what keeps Bloodborne from like ascending to even A is, I think its last half is even worse than Dark Souls 1's last half. So as a guy that really likes like certain boss fights, I like the dual boss fights, ones I feel that are really engaging to fight in, like Artorias, Gale, those kinds of fights. I did not like any of the bosses in Bloodborne's last half, besides Gehrman, and the DLC if you include that. But yeah, the last half, I also didn't really like the change in setting, or the change in mood even. Like everything felt like cosmic and almost like fantastical. I didn't like that. That was not like my thing. I like the way Lothric? No, not Lothric. I like the way Yharnam felt. Yharnam is like the peak of Bloodborne. And from there, it's all downhill in my opinion. And it makes me sad to think that because I really, really love Yharnam. It's such a good fucking area. The bosses there, like Father Gascoigne is one of my favorite bosses in Bloodborne. I didn't struggle with him. I beat him on my first try. So I am legally allowed to say that he's easy. But that doesn't change the fact that he's a good boss fight. He's a great boss fight. If we're gonna call him like a tutorial boss in the sense that he's the first boss you fight, or he could be the first boss you fight, he is the best tutorial boss in Fromsoft history. He's fast. He has 3 different phases. And at the end, he turns into a beast, so you can like kind of like get to. It's like a skill check. It's like, do you know how to fight like beast type enemies? It's great. I'd say Bloodborne overall, even though Bloodborne overall, the bosses are generally like 6 out of 10. They're fine. Some of them are really bad, but it does have really high peaks. So there's that. It's extremely inconsistent. That's what I would say. I don't know if I already said it, but yes, Bloodborne does have one of my favorite worlds in FromSoft history. So yeah, Bloodborne B tier. Now Dark Souls 3 is also in B tier. I always go back and forth trying to decide which one I like more between Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. And it's always hard for me to decide. Because with Dark Souls 3, the bosses are way better and much more fun to fight. And they even feel more unique sometimes. But Bloodborne has a much better setting. The world is way more interesting to explore. Because with Dark Souls 3, Lordran or Lothric or whatever the entire world of Dark Souls 3 is called, everything feels so disconnected. It feels like it's like lacking inspiration. And it's just like really boring to explore. I actually tried replaying it recently and I could not get past. I think I got to the Undead Cathedral and I just got tired of playing it. I was just like, I replay the games once a year because I just like get the urge to. But with Dark Souls 3, I just like I picked it up and just dropped it. I just could not fuck with exploring the world. It was just so boring. And that's another thing about Dark Souls 3. People can say what they want about Dark Souls 2, but I feel like Dark Souls 3 has the least soul. Like no pun intended. I feel like it has the least soul out of all the games. It just all it wants to be is Dark Souls 3, the fan service game. It doesn't know. Well, it's not that it doesn't know. It's just that it doesn't have its own identity. It doesn't feel unique in a way. Even though I just said the bosses can be unique, overall the game just feels so stale. And it lacks like its own identity. Because at least with Dark Souls 2 it tried. Even though there were callbacks to Dark Souls 1, it did try. But Dark Souls 3 is like fucking Andre. It's just like, fuck off, dog. You're probably like already dead. Like they had to bring back Londo for some reason. I was not a fan of that. There were times where it's done really well, with Soul of Cinder and like Gwyn's music. I like that. But with sections like Londo, I just cannot get behind it. So yeah, that's Dark Souls 3. And now I could like this bit. Sekiro. Sekiro has everything I like about FromSoft games. If you want to speedrun the game, if you want to like rush through the bosses, first of all, there's like a boss rush mode now. You can like fight whatever boss you want. But even before that, you can start a new file and just like run past everything, like grapple your way to the next boss. It's so fucking great in that sense, and it helps. And speaking of bosses, every boss that you can shinobi execute, all of the bosses are at least good, if not like amazing. I will say there are 2 exceptions to this, which would be the Guardian Ape / the Guardian Ape duo and the Demon of Hatred. But they're not unfair. Besides the duo, they're not unfair, but I just don't think they belong in Sekiro. Those 2 bosses are more like, they fit in Souls much better. But overall, the bosses in Sekiro are fucking great. It's the first game to have an amazing gimmick boss. The puzzle boss is great. I love how in-depth you can get with the fucking combat. See, a lot of people think Sekiro's combat is really like shallow because they say it's just like parry or deflect, and sometimes like Mikiri. I think that's a really bad way of looking at it, because you can say that for Dark Souls games where like it's just roll and then R1 when you can. But Sekiro takes it a step further because it has combat arts. It has I think they call it shinobi art. There's so many ways to tackle an encounter, and then you throw in the shinobi prosthetic with it, which is like a Bloodborne trick weapon on crack. Fucking insane. And despite what people say about it, I find at least 70% of the shinobi prosthetics pretty useful. It's because the way I play base vitality, demon bell, charmless. That's how I play it. So for me, I find all the prosthetics pretty useful. Besides maybe the whistle. I don't think I've ever used that. But generally, I do think the prosthetics do add another like layer of depth to Sekiro's combat, which is something that all the Souls games lack. I think Souls games are the ones that are actually shallow, and Sekiro is the one that's truly in depth. There are so many things you could do. You can light your weapon on fire, and then when your weapon's on fire, you can combine it with a combat art to have like a huge like fire tornado around you. It's fucking crazy. There are so many unique things you could do in Sekiro, and it sucks that people just boil it down to just deflect. Of course you could play like that, but the depth comes from the options you have through your prosthetics, through your combat arts, all that stuff. I should say, even though it's an S tier, Sekiro is not a perfect game, because while the world is nice, the exploration, I never fully explore the game anymore. I do think Sekiro is at Dark Souls 3 level of like exploration, where It's just like I don't want to explore it. But that's the only real issue I have against the game. I think the lore is great. It has some of my favorite bosses in the series. Sekiro, great game. Pretty much everything about it. I love the story way more than any of the Souls games. Elden Ring included. I like, especially the purification ending. That's probably one of my favorites. I think that's peak Fromsoft writing. But yeah, Sekiro S tier. Now Elden Ring. This does not mean I like Dark Souls 2 more than Elden Ring. The reason it's here is because sometimes while I was playing Elden Ring, I thought to myself, I was like, I'd rather be playing Dark Souls 2. I'll start with what Elden Ring does right. It has the best exploration in all the FromSoft games. Absolutely. Just easily, it just like takes the cake for that. Early areas like, I forgot what the first area was called, even though it's my favorite one. What the fuck is it called? Limgrave. Limgrave, Caelid, and Altus Plateau are some of my favorite areas of all time. So fun to explore, very unique atmosphere. So walking out and seeing Limgrave for the first time, it gave me the same vibe as Bloodborne, where it's just like wow, look at this. This is fucking insane. That's the same feeling I got. I guess customization when it comes to gameplay is pretty nice because the Ashes of War. It does have some pretty nice bosses. Margit is one of my favorite bosses ever. He's a really nice boss. But I really can't say that much good about it because I don't have that many good memories of Elden Ring. Because I was disappointed that it felt too much like Dark Souls 3. It felt too much like open world Dark Souls 3. So in that sense, I was extremely like disappointed. I'd imagine that people like, if Elden Ring is someone's first FromSoft game or first Souls-like game, they would enjoy it a lot. But for me, I played all the Souls games before, like, I was tired of it. I wanted like innovation like Sekiro. I don't want another Souls game. That's really all I can say about it. I didn't really enjoy the characters. I felt like a lot of the characters kind of fell flat. Bosses, everyone's already complained about this. I've already made a video on it myself. Yeah, Elden Ring bosses just don't do it for me. If they were fair, there's a good chance I didn't find them fun to fight. Which is why I like Margit, because he beat my ass for like 6 hours straight. Which is a memory I'll never forget because it's so like significant to the way I enjoyed Elden Ring. Margit destroyed me for 6 hours straight. But it was always fun to do. I don't think I've ever got tilted. The only time I got tilted was when I like fucked up like I didn't press dodge or like I mistimed something, which is my own fault. But besides that, Margit himself was always fun to fight. I even made a fresh character that I leave at Margit. So just whenever I feel like fighting him, I can just like load that character up and just like go fight Margit. He's a great boss. But I can't say the same for a lot of the other bosses. I think Godric is a good boss. I'm not gonna list every boss. I just think overall Elden Ring is just very bland when it comes to boss fights. There's not much I have to say about it because it is a good game. Like Elden Ring's peaks are higher than Sekiro's, but its lows are lower than like anything I've ever played. It's like so frustrating. If I wasn't frustrated, I was bored. If I wasn't bored or frustrated, then I was just like not playing the game. Yeah, I think Elden Ring is a solid C tier game. Pains me to say because I was really hyped for the game too. But yeah, that's my take on Elden Ring. That's my hot take on Elden Ring. It's a C tier game. It's not awful, but I should say Elden Ring is the only game that I completed once. I have another character that's almost 90% of the way through the game. So I guess that kind of counts. But it's the only FromSoft game that I completed once. In the first character, the character I completed the game with, I still had like 4 bosses that I didn't even touch because I didn't even know about them. But I feel like that should explain pretty well my love for Elden, or the extent of my love for Elden Ring. Like, I only completed the game once. So Sekiro, I completed the game at least 15 times. The game released in 2019. So within 3 years, I completed it about 15 times, maybe even more. Dark Souls 1, I lost count. Came out in 2011. My guess, I probably completed at least like 30 to 40 times now. Bloodborne, at least 10 times. Dark Souls 3, also came out pretty recently. I beat it at least 20 times. Now maybe. Dark Souls 2, I say the same as Dark Souls 3. Demon Souls, I beat like 3 to 5 times. Now Elden Ring just came out. So it's kind of like, of course, maybe I'm only gonna beat it like a couple times. But ever since I uninstalled it like a month ago, I've had zero desire to play it. Like I don't miss the game. I'm not like, damn, I kind of go like do that one area in Elden Ring again. It was never that. I like want nothing to do with the game. So that's why it's under Dark Souls 2. It's kind of under Dark Souls 2. It's like they kind of like swap out sometimes. The same way Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 do. It's very hard for me to decide which one's better. So yeah, that's my definitive FromSoft games tier list. Sekiro is the king. I hope that we get another Sekiro 2, or just a Sekiro 2, or maybe even a DLC. Or in Dark Souls 1, I hope there's a remake, even though I think that'll be extremely hard to do because FromSoft doesn't do remakes. And if they gave it to a third-party dev, it would be very hard for them to capture the spirit of Dark Souls 1. And the other games, I'm not very fond of. I can't even say that because like B is like an 80 out of 100.